Again, I'm Jason Eamon, and this is the University of Georgia Transfer Information Session. We seem to be more or less plateauing. Thank you guys so much for considering the University of Georgia and participating in this. So basically, I'm going to do a presentation about the transfer process into the University of Georgia, and my colleague Heather Elizabeth is going to be moderating questions so that we can do a Q&A sort of when I'm done presenting. And so I guess, yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, the University of Georgia is the first state chartered university in the United States. It's the flagship land grant, sea grant institution for the state. It's located in Athens, Georgia. It's about 70 miles from Atlanta. Our enrollment is over 40,000. The population of Athens is about 130,000, so it makes Athens a really neat place in that a third of the population of one of the biggest cities in the state is university oriented. It's all our 40,000 students and 10,000 faculty and staff. So it makes for an exciting place to live and learn. We have 18 colleges and schools, over 250 majors. So points of pride, we, as the flagship research institution for the state, there's an experiential component to getting degrees here. We have a great honors program that is available for transfer students also. And we, not too long ago, initiated a double dogs program that allows students to get a bachelor and a master's, all sort of within 5 total years. Okay, so I'm just going to go over a couple of logistics before I get into the main part of this, which is the transfer process. So as far as living here, as I said, 40% of the city is university housing, basically. So we have dorms, but really that's just for the high school students, the freshmen. So pretty much everybody else lives somewhere else on campus. The housing office does have some resources for helping with that. And there is a possibility to get some dorms for non-freshman students, and that would be communicated with them. As far as communication or as transportation goes, we have a great bus system, and any student can ride the UGA or city buses for free as a student. And for dining, we have great dining halls, lots of variety there, good social thing as well. And so everybody's encouraged to take advantage of that. Okay, so, and then parking, if you're gonna be commuting in, we can definitely work with getting you a parking lots assignments for the majority of you. The great transit system is going to do it for you. Okay, so with those things, I'm going to move forward to the transfer process. So in order to transfer, we need an application and a college transcript from every college that you've attended. So the summer-fall application is going to open up in January 22nd. And so when you submit an application, list all the colleges you went to, have those colleges send us transcripts, and then log back onto your status check to make sure that they got here. If they all get here before the deadline, your application should be eligible for review. The deadline is March 1st, so pretty much the summer, fall, like the month of February is when you want to make sure your application is complete. The minimum requirements are at least 30 semester hours of college level credit, a 3.3 GPA, or 60 hours and a 3.0. The other criteria is that you graduated from high school a year before you would enroll at UGA. So if you just graduated in May, then you would be able to start next May, either summer or fall. One caveat that I want to mention about this to make sure everybody understands it is that we are basing these on official transcripts and college courses. We're not using anything else like all the the high school transcript, test scores, essays, extracurriculars, none of that. All we're looking at is college hours, college GPA. They do have to be complete by the deadline, though. So way back in 2007, we moved our fall deadline from June back into the spring so that we would get more spring applicants, spring transfer students, and so we don't have everybody coming in all at the same time in the fall. And it gives us more experience to have a deadline like that. The flip side of that is that you pretty much have to have 30 hours by the end of this term, the end of the year, because when you start classes, they're not going to be done until May. You're not going to have transcripts. And so if that's going to be the case and you're not going to meet the 30 hours by then we would encourage you to apply for spring. The spring application opens May 22nd. The deadline is August 15th. So you would have an opportunity to use not only classes you're taking now, but classes in the spring, and you can take some more classes in the summer if you need to. And then you can keep taking your classes in the fall, as you would be in the spring if you were coming here, and send those transcripts to us once you're admitted, and then we'll add them to your record. So very smooth transition there. All right, so I'm going to move on. Talk about what kind of credits transfer. And the basic answer to that is college level classes, ones designed to apply towards a bachelor's degree at other schools, to transfer to UGA and apply towards bachelor's degree here. For those of you going to University System of Georgia schools, the 26 public schools in the state, the USG guarantees core-to-core transfer. So if you're going to Kennesaw, Georgia State, or Georgia Tech, or Georgia Southern, or any of the others, and taking classes that are applying towards an associate's or bachelor's degrees there, those classes, those core classes are guaranteed to transfer in and satisfy the same kind of core requirements as they do at other schools. If you are going to a technical school or a community college, those institutions have some classes that are eligible to apply towards a bachelor's degree. They also have other types of classes, sort of applied classes, certificates, diplomas, that kind of thing. Those classes are not going to be eligible to transfer to UGA because they're not designed to be the foundation of a bachelor's degree. The Technical College System of Georgia has about a dozen institutions, including Athens Technical College, which is right down the road here. And there's like 40 or 50 classes that are guaranteed by the university system to transfer from the technical system and apply towards your core credits and transfer and everything. And the rest of the classes won't. So for example, if you're getting like a computer networking degree at Athens Tech, those classes are designed to teach you or to certify you to network computers, and they are not designed to be the foundation of a computer science degree. All right, so I hope that all that makes sense. And as I said, Heather's helping me with questions, so you guys can put those through, and she will be answering some, and then I'll be answering a lot of them when I'm done talking. Okay. So this is an image of transfer equivalency search. And so this is a UGA search. It lists classes from other schools and how they have transferred to UGA. Me and Heather and our team have created all of these rules over many, many years. So there's like 500,000 or so. And we have most of the ones from around, in the state and in the region. But if a class or school is not on there, it doesn't mean it doesn't transfer. It just means we have not researched it before. So really, before you accept our offer of admission, the best that we can really say for sure is that if it's a college level class and it applies towards a bachelor's degree somewhere else, it should transfer and do pretty much the same thing here. There are 3 ways that we will transfer in classes. We will either bring them in as direct equivalents. So if you took English composition 1101 at another school, and we would transfer in as English 1101. If it's a class that for one reason or other, we can't bring it as a specific UGA class, but it is a college level class. We'll bring it as an elective. So that'll have a similar to, UGA prefix and a TXX or a GXX instead of a specific designation. Those still count towards your hours, GPA, minimum requirements, degree, admissions, everything a direct equivalent would count as. They just may not automatically satisfy like core or major requirements until they are further reviewed by advising offices and departments at orientation. So yeah, so the direct equivalents, and then there's the TXX, which is the transfer electives, and then we have sort of a hybrid of those, which is a GXX, and so those are general education electives. So they will transfer, just like direct and transfer electives, and they will satisfy requirements as courses with similar subjects. So for example, Math 1111 is the statewide designation for college algebra, and college algebra is guaranteed by the state to satisfy the Area 1A core requirement at University System of Georgia schools. So a lot of the USG schools teach it, and most all of the technical schools teach it, and it is guaranteed transfer over. UGA does not teach college algebra, so we would bring college algebra in as a Math 1 GXX, so it would satisfy that core and transfer and do everything else. So with that, I'm going to proceed. This is the image of our core curriculum here at University of Georgia versus the sort of a generic at-large university system school. So they are all similar. They're all guaranteed to do their best to transfer and make everything transfer really smoothly, but there are some differences in each one. So with UGA, we call ours Roman numerals. Most of the rest of the system uses letters. Area A is identical. It's English 1 and 2 and a math. UGA does not have Area B institutional options, but we do have a larger world, language, cultures, humanities, and the arts section. So anything that is in Area B at another USG school, probably going to go right into our Area 4. And again, anything from other schools or out of system, out of state, similar classes are going to go to similar places in the core. So the Area C and the rest of Area 4 are the same. Area D and Area 3 are the same. One of the bigger differences at UGA is a lot of the degrees require a biological and a physical science. And so if you end up just taking biological sciences at another school or just physical sciences and you want a degree that requires both, your university-wide requirements would be satisfied by those, but your specific degree requirements may not, and so you may have to do something like take another science or something. The bottom section is identical. We're looking for American government and U.S. history and some other humanities. All right, so let's talk some more about transfer credits. We will accept academic introduction to college, first year Odyssey, that kind of thing. Those are eligible to transfer. We will not take developmental or college prep level courses because they're not college level. And then CLEP and other experience scores. I'm going to slow down here because this is a part of our thing that, depending on your perspective, may not seem so intuitive. The basics are that when you are in high school and you take AP or IB classes, then you become eligible to take the test for that subject, and then you can send those test scores to a college, and a college will or will not give you credit for them. So that is absolutely the way that it works here at UGA as well for first year students. We have a special ability that we are allowed to use here in the admissions office only for transfer students. And that is that if we have a college transcript and it says, advanced placement, and then it says classes that are offered at your school, then we in admissions are allowed to award you that credit as if you took those classes there. So they can count towards the minimum 30-hour requirements. If your school does not put them on as classes that you could have taken there, if it just says like 30 hours of AP credits, or if it says like 10 hours of English, 10 hours of math, and we can't tell what it is, then we're not allowed to use it, and we're not allowed to look at the scores or have unofficial transcripts or letters from the registrar or anything like that. And again, it's these very specific rules that only are applied for transfer students that we're allowed to do this at all. So thankfully, all the schools in the state of Georgia will put classes on transcripts. If you are going to Georgia State, you can request specifically that they do that. Otherwise, they may just give us a total. And if you are going to a school that does not do that and you need those to meet our requirements, the past few years, we have been able to provide a transcript deadline. So if you have your application all the way complete by March 1st, and we see that you've got like 15 hours you took in the fall, and you're taking 15 hours this spring, and you have a great GPA, and then we see that you have like 20 hours of AP, but we can't tell what it is, then we would be able to give you an extension so that you could send your spring grades, your spring transcript in, and then we would use those to meet the 30 hours. Still not able to do anything with those, the AP stuff, because we don't have that information yet, but then you'd be able to send your scores to the registrar after you're admitted, and then you would get UGA versions of the transfer credit. So again, I want to be very deliberate about that, and I'm very happy to discuss that more in the Q&A parts. Beyond that, the admissions office is not allowed to give any credit for really much of anything else except for stuff, college classes on college transcripts. So if you took CLEP tests, like college level experience placement, or Dante's, or you took departmental tests, exemptions, stuff like that, on the transcript or not, we're not allowed to do that. So basically, each of the departments sort of determine what we can and cannot award, and they say we can't award anything except for what I just described. Okay, so beyond that, we teach a lot of stuff here, and we can transfer pretty much any subject at the bachelor degree level. There are some things we really don't teach at all. We are expanding our medical presence here at the university, so we may be able to take some more medical clinical things. Historically, we haven't been able to take like nursing classes because we don't do nursing degrees. We can't really give credit for aviation classes because we don't teach people how to fly planes, but pretty much anything you've taken, we will be able to apply here. As far as accreditation goes, we're looking for a regional accreditation. So in the South, that's the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. And if you are an international student, we require that you provide us with an outsourced credit evaluation. So basically, you would send your college transcripts to a company. There's like a dozen that will accept. It's on the international section of our site. And we will use that report that will translate things into English as necessary, and US hours and US grades. We use that to determine if you meet our requirements. We're using the same requirements, the 30 hours, 3.3, 60 hours, 3.0. And yes, so the last couple of things I'm going to say here. One is we don't, UGA requires that all grades are included in grade point averages. That's for UGA students and for transfer students and grades. So just want to point that out there, which is one of the things, the purpose of this is to have you guys, have me share with you as many things as possible to make sure that you're coming here to UGA, assimilation into our culture is going to be smooth and with as few surprises as possible. So the repeating grade thing can throw people off. So for example, if you're at University of North Georgia Oconee campus, which is the closest University System of Georgia campus to UGA, right down the road here in Oconee County, and you failed a class and you took it again, that UNG will not include that first time that you took it in their internal institutional GPA, but UGA is required to count each time they did it. And then the last thing I'm going to say down here is we will only accept 1 hour of physical education, and we will not award any grades for PE classes, so that you can't take like 30 hours of badminton and then transfer here. Yes, I know that's hysterical to think of. Yes, okay. All right, so we're going to move on. And sorry if I'm fading it in out a little bit. The nice window, sun is shining in. It's very nice. Okay. So just kind of recap. Direct, equivalent, and elective college level classes should be eligible to transfer and apply towards your degree and admission. If a class or a school is not on our transfer equivalency search, does not mean it won't transfer. It likely means that we just haven't researched it yet. And so the best thing we can say is if it applies towards a bachelor's degree at another school, it should come here and apply towards bachelor's degree at UGA. And if it is not eligible to apply towards bachelor's degrees at other schools, it is not going to be eligible to apply to UGA base. All right, so once you have created an application, listed all the transcripts on it, had all those schools send transcripts, checked your admissions, UGA admissions status check to see that they all arrived before the deadline. If you are out of high school, if you're going to be having graduated high school a year before you want to start here, if you have over 30 hours, 3.3 GPA, 60 hours, 3.0, at least since the turn of the century when I started working in this office, our instructions have been to admit pretty much everybody that meets our requirements, and we are not allowed to admit anyone without meeting those requirements. So it's really straightforward. So that is in contrast to our first year application process where we're going to get 50,000 applications and we're going to offer to 11,000 students so that we get a class of 6,500 exactly. There's a little more flexibility and fewer transfer students. So we have historically been able to admit everybody that's available and that's above, and deny everybody that's not, and anybody that is in that situation is welcome to apply at a future term. Okay, so once you have done that and you're above the requirements, then hopefully we will admit you, and then we would love to have you accept our offer of admission. And the really great thing about that is, it's a commitment deposit, it's not binding, it is $100, it pays for your orientation, which is where you meet with an advisor and get cleared to register for classes, and that's required for everyone, so that's a thing you're going to want to have. And one of the best things about it is it gives you access to all of the degrees that you would be using as a student here, including DegreeWorks, our degree audit program. So you guys, I'm sure, have a degree audit at your school where it shows all your classes. You can change your major or look into a minor or this or that. So you will be able to see your UGA version of it. We'll have your credit posted. And at that point, advising offices and departments will be able to see it. So you will be able to, that is the point when you'll really be able to get a really solid idea of how your classes are going to apply towards your degree at UGA and what classes you'll want to have researched a little more during your advising or by departments. Okay, so we have amazing resources here at UGA. The transfer FAQ, as I was saying, this is designed to make this smooth move for everybody. And the transfer FAQ is a great thing to see. It talks about a lot of the things that I'm talking about now, and there's even more, and you can see them down in writing so that you have access to them. Admissions blogs written by our director is very insightful, and you can do searches for that to find more in detail about specific subjects. UGA Bulletin, all schools have a bulletin. I imagine you've looked at your schools. our schools is just as valuable as all of our classes, all of our majors. Um, and it'll describe stuff like high demand majors. Our admissions requirements are identical no matter what major you apply for. If you apply or admitted for, if you applied for a high demand major and you're admitted as an intended high demand major. So that's true for everyone. And then once you meet the requirements, then you as soon or as later as you want, you can apply and be accepted fully into that program. I'll just go ahead and say, so Terry College of Business, for example, if you apply as a Terry major, you'll be admitted as an intended major. Once you take your 42 hours of core and your 18 hours of Area 6F, foundation stuff, then you would be eligible to apply to Terry. So if you've already done that, you'd be able to apply as early as your first term. And if not, then you can just apply when you finish everything up here. All right. The Office of Transfer Services is an entire office devoted to helping transfer students be successful. So them and the Exploratory Center, which is like a multifaceted advising office, those are the two offices beyond admissions that are going to be of the most benefit for you as you're moving towards being a UGA student. So transfer services, they have lots of resources for, academic stuff, social stuff. We have like 1,000 clubs or something, and there's lots of transfer, really specific stuff, and lots of just like everybody else stuff. So I encourage you to check that out. And the Exploratory Center site has like draft degrees so that you can kind of fill in your classes into there to sort of get a better idea. And there are some representatives that can answer some questions. And then beyond that, admissions and these offices, there are some things that just are enough detail that you have to be a student in order for us to help. But we will help as much as we can in the interim. All right. So I'm just going to talk a moment about financing, and then we'll go to Q&A. So we in admissions kind of know just enough about finances to be dangerous, I will say. The very, very best advice we can give is consult the UGA Financial Aid, Office of Student Financial Aid. That is exactly what they're there for. So they will be able to tell you everything about your help, FEL, Pell, need-based, merit-based. There are tons of scholarships out there. We have a great work-study program, and then there's other ways of financing it. So really, they're going to be the professionals. Our best advice, again, is to just talk to them. Okay, and so with that, I'm going to go to the Q&A, and throw this up here. I'm Jason Emond, and Heather Elizabeth is moderating with me. Those are our direct emails. So if you guys have any questions, you're welcome to email us, or there's lots of other ways to contact the admissions office. And with that, I will go to questions if we're ready. Heather, please. Thank you. Oh, I guess I can see them. Yes. Sorry. Okay. Got them. Thank you. All right. What do you? Okay. First question. It's great. I think I just answered it with my last statement or so, talking about Terry. So yeah, if you apply, you'd be an intended major. You can be an intended major and take pretty much everything except for upper level business classes for as long as you want or need to until you meet the requirements. And usually so again, Terry and lots of the other high demand majors are similar to this. Their application is like basically the first month of school. So fall starts in the middle of August. So the Terry deadline is from the beginning to the end of the whole month of August. And so then by the time you get to your advisement for your next term, then you'll be in Terry. So I could talk about more about that, but I think that takes care of that one. Okay, yeah, so this is kind of talking about, again, about um, uh, high demand majors. All right, so if you're entertainment media, high school of arts and sciences, and I don't know if I'm understanding this one precisely, but I think it's the same thing as what I was just saying about Terry, whereas uh, most of the majors are looking for 60 hours that you have your core done your first 2 years, or you're basically an associate's degree from a 2-year school. And once you get to that point, then you can apply to get into the program. And so, again, I'll mention Terry. You take a test and you pick your top 3 picks, and should be get into one if you meet the other qualifications. And then there are others like early childhood education, where it's a cohort thing, and so their secondary application is pretty elaborate. I would just go to the bulletin or go to the sites of the programs that you're interested in, and they should have good, more detailed instruction than I've just provided. Oh, I see. Okay, it's the same person. Great questions. I won't say your name, but thank you for these. Okay, another great question. And so I'm going to elaborate on this advanced placement sort of thing. So, yeah, so if you take a class in high school and then you take the test and you get a 4, and you go to like college like Auburn, and Auburn will either, if they want to give you credit, they will give you like what is this, life science. So they'll give you like biology 101 for 4 hours. They'll give you that biology lab class that you could have taken the class there, but instead they're going to give you credit for it, and it's going to apply towards your degree just like that. And then you want to transfer here, you send us that transcript, and then on the Auburn transcript it says advanced placement, it says biology 101 4 hours, and so then we can use that towards your 4. And if you have 26 more hours and a 3.3 or better GPA, we can offer you admission, and you will have that transfer class. If, on the other hand, they didn't give you a specific class, or they didn't list it on the transcript, then we wouldn't be able to use it. And so hopefully you would have 30 hours other than those 4 that we can't see from the transfer process. And then once you get admitted, you would send us the AP scores to the registrar, just like you sent them to the Auburn registrar, and then UGA would award you credit. So you'll get the credit sooner or later. It's just whether or not it can be involved in the transfer process. Great questions, thank you. Okay, another great question. Decisions. So January 22nd opening, March 1st deadline. We will start reviewing them sometime in February, and historically we have released our first set of decisions like in the middle of March. And so usually we'll have like a third or so of them already evaluated. So we'll just release a third of the decisions on a Friday afternoon in the middle of March. And then every Friday afternoon after that, we will release all the decisions we've done since the last Friday. And so we should have all the decisions out by sometime in early April. Again, unless there's some sort of extenuating circumstances, like we have to give you a extension because of the AP credits or something like that. Okay, So this is saying a student with a 4.0 and 40 hours has a better chance of being admitted than a 3.5 and 30 hours. And I'm gonna, in a vacuum, I'm gonna say yes. Again, historically, we have been able to offer admission to pretty much, and I don't guarantee, no guarantees, pretty much everybody that's above our requirements. But if there were to be some unexpected circumstance where we got like 2,000 extra transfer applications, then the 4.0, 40 hours, yes, is going to absolutely be eligible for admission, and the 3.530 may not. But again, as I've said, we've pretty much been able to admit everybody that meets the minimums. Yes, and so another great question. I'm going to reiterate, for fall 2025, the deadline is March 1st. And so we would not be using any classes that you took in the spring because they're not going to be on transcripts until May, and the deadline is March 1st. And so I know people have asked about like mini mesters, where you take a class like in the first month of the term, and would that be eligible? And the answer is yes, only if the college that you're attending will put it on official transcripts. So some schools, even if you finish the class in the first 3 weeks, they will not put it on until every single class in that term is done. And so if it's that school, then we're not going to be able to use it because we need it on an official transcript to process it. But if your school says that they will put it on a transcript and you can get it to us by March 1st, then yes, we would be able to use that. And then the process for spring, deadlines April 15th, no, August 15th. So we'll probably start working in those in June, July, and sometime middle of July or so, we will release all of the transfer decisions we've done that far, and then we'll keep doing those every Friday until they're all done. So we should have all the spring decisions done by early September. Okay, so the question, another great one. Do dual enrollment from community colleges and AP credit from high school count as transferable? And how do we determine that? So the transfer equivalency search is on the UGA site, and it has pretty much every class from every school in the state. Pretty much anything that you would take, and maybe some obscure high-level ones, but they're going to be transferable. If you're at a community college, there is the list of classes on the equivalency search may be a little broader. There's some special degree agreements that we've made between schools to accept a few more classes, but it's pretty much like 40 or 50, and those are going to be like college math, college English, humanities, some science. Those are the ones that are going to be eligible. So nothing else, no computer stuff, no accounting, just maybe one accounting or something. But for the vast majority of accounting classes, no. And then nothing like, air conditioning repair or cosmetology or anything like that. So it's just going to be the basic college core stuff that's going to be eligible from a community college. And then the caveat on the AP credits is that they have to be on a transcript. And so I've kind of gone over that. So I will leave it there. Thank you. Okay, yeah, GPA calculations. So I was referencing like University of North Georgia, a lot of schools will count classes that you repeated or not. So UGA is required to count all classes. So if you were to say you've had a bad that term, you made like a C, a D, and an F, and then you retook all those classes the next term and got all A's. So then UNG would say your GPA is a 4.0 because they're not going to include any of the classes that you the first time you took them, whereas UGA is required to count them all, and so basically that would be the equivalent of like 3 A's and 3 D's, which would average out to like a 2.5 GPA. So you can see how that would be really different. I'll elaborate a little bit more. If you went to other schools, like multiple schools, we're going to take all of the hours that you completed and all of the quality points. You know, it's like a 3-hour class has 4 quality points if you got an A, and no quality points if you failed. And so we'll take all the hours and then all the quality points from all the schools, put them all together, divide, then that'll be your GPA. And then we would subtract out any classes that you repeated or didn't pass. Okay, so another great question about the AP credit hours. And how do you do that? Most schools, again, the only school in the state, all schools in the state, the only school in the state I know of that their default is just to put a total number and not to list what classes they are is Georgia State University. So if you're going to Georgia State, Georgia Perimeter, they're very used to this because people have been asking for it for decades now. On their registrar site, there's a place where you can say, I want a transcript with listed out advanced placement courses. So that'll be it exactly. Most of the other schools are either going to be one way or the other. They're going to list them or they're not. And if you ask them, then they're probably not going to do that. So I don't know if I've mentioned this, South Carolina, public schools in South Carolina will not do that. And so there is no way for admissions to be able to use the special transfer rule for situations like that. So the only thing we can do is do that extension, and if it looks like you're going to have the 30 hours and above a 3.3 with spring grades, and we could tell you would have had enough AP if we had known what they were, then we would give you that extension, and you could send the transcript and we admit you on that. Otherwise, our hands are kind of tied. Okay, so it's a question about if you're close to a 3.3 and things look encouraging, could you be admitted anyway? And as I said at the onset, the Office of Admissions is only authorized by the university as a whole to admit transfer students that are above the minimum requirements. So if you're at 29 hours and a 2.25 GPA, that is below the very lowest that we're allowed to offer admission to, and the admissions office would not be able to give an admission to you. There are, if you're in a situation that you've dealt with catastrophically extenuating circumstances, you may be able to get an appeal, but these really would really have to be really dramatic situations. So other than that, our best advice is to take classes, get up above the requirements, and apply for a future term. Again, we encourage transfer students to enroll in spring, so that the spring of their sophomore year is the ideal time for us to have transfer students according to the university. Okay, so transfer spring classes for fall 25. So you apply in February, you meet our requirements, we offer you admission, you accept our offer of admission, and then in middle of May, you get your spring grades are available. So you send us a new transcript with your spring grades, and we will add that to your record, and then go to orientation, and they should all be there so that you and your advisor should have a real good idea about what your schedule should look like for your first term here. So yeah, once you're admitted and enroll as a student here, you can continue taking classes other places and send them to us, and we'll just add them to your record. Right, so financial internships, again, I'm going to defer to the financial aid office. They have all the best resources. That is entirely everything that they do there, whereas the main thing we do at admissions is admit people. So I would go to financial aid for that. Okay, yeah, great. So this is sort of a scenario of 2 years at Georgia State, and would you be able to graduate in 2 more years, 4 years total? And the answer is ideally yes. If your first 60 hours there were you basically getting your associate's degree, where you had all your A through E core done, and you had your area F core done, and then you're transferring and you're getting the exact same major as you were studying there, and all those classes fit into all our classes, and then you start taking your major level stuff and you don't sway away or change your mind or anything, then yes, you should be able to graduate in 4 years. That is the design. And then as far as the double dogs, it can be 5 years. There's 1 year that's basically, it's supposed to be year 1 through 3 is bachelor level, and then year 4 is sort of a combined bachelor and master's level, and then year 5 is pretty much all master's level. So that can be done in 5 years, or this in 4 years. I will say that I was going to say, I'm just going to keep going. It'll come to me. Oh yeah, so there is a 45-year last 60 hours. There's a residence requirement where you have to take at least a year and a half here at Georgia to get a degree. So you can't just transfer in and take one class here and get a Georgia degree, where you take everything everywhere else, somewhere else. But other than that, yes, you should be able to transfer in 4 years. Okay, another great question to sort of elaborate, say this in a little different way. So I'm talking about 60 hours and a 3.0 GPA that you need for admission. And is that 60 total hours, or 60 hours from your school, or 60 hours that we would think is transferable? And the answer is what we would think is transferable, with the understanding that if you're going to a college, if you're getting a bachelor's degree or getting an associate's degree that's designed to transfer to a bachelor's degree, then all 60 of the hours should transfer. And again, on our equivalency search, we don't have every single class on there, just because we haven't researched it. We manually write rules for every single 100,000s of them. And then that thing refreshes overnight. So we're adding to it every day. But so all your college level classes should transfer, and so your 60 hours should be great, unless you're going to a technical school and taking a bunch of computer networking classes and just a few core classes, in which case only a few classes would transfer. Right. Okay, so the reason that I don't ever say anything definitive or guarantee anything like this is because we reserve the right to, we don't want to guarantee something that in the future we're not going to be able to provide. So when I say since the year 2000, when I started working here, like 24 years ago, pretty much every term we have been able to offer admission to those who met our requirements. We raised the requirements a little bit sometimes. We raised the 60-hour one from 2.8 to 3.0 last year. We had a lot of lead time on that, like almost a year ahead of time. We were saying that's what we're going to do. So these requirements should be very stable for the next year at least. And if you meet them, historically, we have offered admission, but I cannot guarantee that that's going to be true in the future. So again, if we have like 2,000 more transfers than have ever applied before, then all bets are off. But historically, we have been able to offer admission to everybody. So I hope that's exciting for you. Okay, yeah, so another great question. So from a student who the first term is here at another college, and they're planning on transferring here in 2020, spring 26. So that's great. They're going to take their classes this term and next term, and then over the summer apply, be admitted, stay at their class, and then start with us in the middle of sophomore year. And that is going to work with the deadline, because if you graduated in May of 2024, then you can start at UGA as a transfer as early as May of 2025, so that would be summer or later, which would be fall. For example, though, you could not, if you had a bunch of AP and dual enrollment from high school, and then you had just this term, and that added up to like 40 hours or something, and you would, no, let's see, this is a different example. If you were to have 40 hours of AP and dual enrollment that you're graduating high school with, right? Or even an associate's degree that you are graduating high school with, and then you wanted to apply in August to start at Georgia in the second term of your freshman year, you would not be able to do that because you graduated in May of 24, and so January 25 would be only 9 months after that. So that's the kind of scenario. And if I didn't elaborate on this before, any of you guys that are high school students, no matter how many dual enrollment, even if you're getting your associate's degree and your high school diploma at the same time, you have to apply as a first-year student if you are still in high school. You cannot apply as a transfer student, and that can really mess people up because our first-year application, the deadline is the end of December, and so if you didn't apply that thinking that you're going to apply for fall as a transfer, where the application is in February, it's going to be too late for you to go back and apply as a first year. We're not allowed to let you apply as a transfer, and so you're not going to be able to go to UGA for at least like another year. So please remember that if you guys are high school students, or if you know anybody that's high school students and you're concerned with that. Yeah. Okay, so I think I answered that question all the way. Heather, you're doing a fantastic job. I really do appreciate your efforts. And okay, so if you withdrew from a class, does it count? It does not. If you withdraw fail, it counts as a fail, and so we would count that. But just withdrawals do not count. We do record everything. One of the reasons we need an official transcript from every college, if you went to different colleges, is we need to put all the things, excuse me, put all the grades in there like that. for financial aid purposes, so that withdrawal would count towards your number of hours for Hope or stuff like that. But as far as academics and admissions, withdrawals are not a factor. Yes, okay. So this is a question about if I have 30 hours, maybe 32, and above a 3.3, are you very likely to get in even if you're out of state? And the answer is yes. Yes, you are. I will kind of reiterate that the freshman class, we get 50,000 applicants, and our margins are razor thin, in part because they have to live in dorms, and so we have to have 6,500 dorm rooms for the 6,500 students. That they're required to live there. So, and then on top of that, they're taking all of the freshman classes, like the chemistry and lab and biology and lab, and so those are things that need a lot of resources to make sure that they're in place so that the freshmen can have all the classes they need to. For transfer students, our numbers are much lower, so we're getting like 3,000-4,000 applications all year, and we're enrolling 2,000 or 3,000. So it's a small number, and we don't have to guarantee them housing, and they've mostly taken care of a lot of the core classes that the freshmen need. So that's why we can be as flexible as we can with the transfer students, in state or out, and why we admitted most all of them. Yes. Meal plans are, you can either get like a 5-day, like at the beginning of the term, you get a 5-day or 7-day, or you can buy a book of tickets, or you can just go and pay. And there's several of them on campus. A couple of them are 24 hours, and it is crazy how many different kinds of food there are there. I mean, I've never seen anything like it in the wild. It's just like stories, massive, just forever. Anything you can think of to eat. So lots of variety there, lots of good stuff, and it's a good social thing too. Sure. Okay. So this is asking about foundational classes on a transfer planning worksheet. There are no specific courses required to transfer to UGA. So like, Georgia Tech, I know, has some classes and math classes and stuff, but UGA does not. So we're just looking for any 30 original college hours that you have taken. So, I mean, you could take all art classes or all English classes. Not going to be the most efficient for finishing your degree, but technically we would accept them. Those would all work towards meeting the transfer requirements. So this is a question about extenuating circumstances, the appeal process, and this is a really, so if you can imagine, for the first year class, if we have 50,000 students and we end up not offering admission to 38,000, and 38,000 students were to appeal their decision, that would be a laborious process. So we try to be very precise and delicate about an appeal process. And so I would very much encourage you or anyone else that feels like they may be that they may have had a situation that would merit the possibility of an appeal. I very much encourage you to email me directly, and we can discuss that one-on-one. If that's okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. Okay, another great question. You can apply again. Yes, absolutely. So if you're not admitted, or admission is only good for the term you apply for, so you have to go that term. And as long as you take at least one class, you're a student for life, basically. If you are away for more than a year, you become inactive, but you can reactivate without, it's like $25 form or application fee. If you apply before and then that you don't enroll and you want to apply for a future term, that is absolutely great too. It's the same process. The really important thing to remember if you are applying again, or even if you applied as a first year and you're applying as a transfer, make sure that we have fresh transcripts, the most recent ones. If you applied for this fall and then you apply again for spring, but we only have the transcript that you sent us in February, and you've taken more classes since then, and there's supposed to be dates on the transfer equivalency search, but those are not always absolutely perfect. So make sure you send fresh transcripts for any classes, for any schools that you're still enrolled in. But other than that, yes, absolutely fine to apply again. A recording of this is not available. Anyone that does want to email me or Heather or admissions in general, we have a great resource email to send you, so that it'll have the stuff in writing better than listen to me blather on all day long, and all the links and stuff. So yeah, if you guys want some refresher of the information we've gone over today, that's a good way. The admission site has pretty much everything. The things that we can send you is a little more targeted to exactly what you might be looking for, what we've talked about here. Another great question. So the GPA starting from scratch or not. So the two primary GPAs, there's lots of GPAs, but the two primary ones that UGA uses in most colleges are the overall and cumulative. And so the overall GPA is all the classes you've ever taken anywhere, so other places or at UGA. And the cumulative, is just UGA classes. So a transfer student would start with whatever their whatever they got admitted with as their overall GPA, and they would have no cumulative GPA because they wouldn't have any UGA classes. And then after your first term, your cumulative would be your UGA GPA, and your overall would be your transfer plus that first term of UGA, and so on and so on. And I did say that the dorms are not generally available for transfer students. So the 6,500 high school students are required to live in the dorms. And we have about 8,000 or 9,000 total dorm rooms. So there are a couple thousand dorm rooms that will not have freshmen in them. But if that's split out over the other 35,000 students, so basically, 98% of non-freshmen do not live in the dorms. So it is possible, but it is not common. Okay, so conditions for a freshman now being admitted for fall 25. And I presume that's a freshman in college. And the conditions would be if you have over 30 hours and above a 3.3 GPA at the end of fall term. And so the most common ways for that to happen is you took a bunch of advanced placement classes and scored enough on the tests to send those to the college that you started at, and that those can add towards the total of your first fall term. Or if you took a bunch of dual enrollment classes, like college classes while you were in high school, so if you had like 15 hours of those and 15 hours now, you have 30 hours by March 1st, those are the conditions under which we would admit a fall student. Is transfer admission rolling? It's rolling in the sense that we'll start making decisions for summer fall in the middle of March and keep turning out applications until they're done, but the deadline is March 1st. And then the same would go for the spring and the August 15th deadline, where it is kind of rolling, but the deadlines are very precise. So it's just a matter of how long it takes us to process all the applications we've gotten by the deadline. So another question, great. And again, very happy to talk to suss this out in different ways. Is it possible to be admitted without meeting the requirements? And the general answer is the admissions office is not allowed to do that. The leadership of the university instructs the admissions office as to what it is and is not allowed to do, and it is allowed to admit students that are above the transfer requirements. It is not allowed to admit students that are below them. So in that respect, there is no way for the admissions office to do that unless there are other factors involved. So this is a question. So even if classes don't transfer to UGA, they'd be used in calculating the GPA? And the answer to that is no, that is not true. Like nothing that is ineligible to transfer to UGA. It basically, and again, I'm going back to like the community college thing, where if you go to Athens Tech and you take English 1101 and Math 1113 and Psychology 1101, those are some of the transfer eligible core classes. So that's 9 hours right there. And then you took another 30 hours of computer networking classes. We would only look at the 9 hours that were college level, and we would ignore the other 30 hours that were not college level. But if you're going to school, and I'm going to use another scenario, if you're going to school really far away from here, so like, University of Wyoming, we'll say, and hardly any students have transferred from University of Wyoming to UGA. So we, in the admissions office, have not seen very many Wyoming classes, but we've had a few. So we would write rules for the few classes that we have had transfer in, but the vast majority of them are not going to be on the equivalency search, but that doesn't mean they won't transfer. So if we then had a student who transferred a whole degree from University of Wyoming, and then we wrote rules for all those credits, which would take a really long time, but that's our job. Then even though only a few classes are on the equivalency search, every single class should transfer if it's all college level. So I hope that makes sense. So yeah, this is the question about the financing thing, and really that the Office of Financial Aid is the place to go, and they have lots of resources, and there are lots of different ways to pay for college, and there are need-based and merit-based and subject-based and community-based and institutional-based and loans and all kinds of things. Again, talking to the real professionals about that is as much as I can offer in the way of advice. Yeah, great question. There is no essay for the transfer application. Again, super simple. All we're looking at is college hours and college GPA. So it doesn't matter. I mean, yeah, no essays, no extracurriculars. If you're applying for a high demand major or something, they may have that. But as far as getting you in the University of Georgia taking classes, there is all we're looking at is college hours and GPA. Wow. Kuma Summa graduation. I don't know. I bet the bulletin or the admission or the somewhere in the UGA site it would say that. I do not know if it's collective or not. It's probably counting everything, I would guess, but again, I'm just guessing. Okay, so when is the spring application process open? Oh, yeah. Maybe somebody asked about the Common App, or there is no Common App for transfer, so it's UGA app only. And yeah, as far as for spring, the application is scheduled to open on May 22nd, and the deadline is August 15th. Wow, okay, well, that's all the questions that I see there. Thank you, Heather, again for going through these, and thank you all out there for asking some fantastic questions. And you are welcome, y'all. And if you have any other questions, I'm totally here for as long as you like. Let's see, another good question here. Looks like. Right. So if I'm getting your question right, you're talking about if you're applying to a high demands, competitive major. We are using the same criteria. So the 30 hours, 3.3, 60 hours, 3.0, that is regardless of what major you apply for. So yes, it's definitely going to matter once you get in here and want to get in one of those majors. But as far as transferring to UGA, our endeavor is to make it as straightforward as simple as possible. Okay, another great question. So, honors program. The honors program has been streamlining their admissions process or transfer admissions process so that it's supposed to be more in line with ours. And their application is going to be independent of your application to admissions. So the honors website is very accessible, and it has the details for how you would apply for that. I think the minimum they're looking for is like a 3.85 GPA, and then that is going to be more based on space availability. We have a few hundred, I think, spaces in honors, and so depending on how many there are, but they would be very happy to talk with you. They definitely appreciate honors transfers. And the second question, oh yeah, so they are two separate ones. So that's going to be, honors is going to be independent from admissions. Okay, so is it possible to apply for fall 25 if credits are taken over the summer or spring 26? Not sure if I understand that fully. We have to have an official transcript in our office by the deadline of the term you're applying for. in order for those to be included in meeting the transfer requirement. So if you want to apply for fall 2025, then you have to have an official transcript from all colleges in our office by March 1st. And if based on those transcripts you meet our requirements, then we should be able to admit you. And if we don't meet those requirements and you would need to take more classes, then you should apply for a different term. So spring, for instance, where the deadline's August 15th, so you can use any classes basically through summer of 2025 in order to meet the 30 hours minimum requirements for spring of 26. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just going to sort of say the gist of this question. So about 30 hours courses on transcript by March 1st, right? Or showing the grade point average of spring 25. And if I know where you're going here, I think there are I've seen some system schools, some university system schools that will put mini-mester grades on transcripts, but it just won't calculate them into the whole GPA of their entire degree there, and that is okay. We could accept that. So basically, if it says, fall 2024, you have like 15 hours, and then it says spring 26, and it has one class, and then but it doesn't give the total, it doesn't add that total to the whole big total. That is fine. As long as it's a class on an official transcript, we will be able to accept it, and we really can't accept anything else. If you're accepted, you are not guaranteed to get into the program of your choice. There are a lot of, most degrees at UGA are not high demand, so they are available for everyone. The ones that are high demand, they are high demand, meaning that more people want to be in those programs than there are facilities to facilitate that. So if you want to get into a high demand major, yeah, it's competitive, but if you want to get into any of the other majors, then it's not. Okay, great question. The deadline or this is talking about spring application and a summer course. So on the application, it asks, if you have stuff in progress, and it says stuff like you did this, if you can't get it to us by the deadline, it's not going to be included. So that's true for summer. The evaluation team, we are looking at if the student didn't meet the requirements and there's any evidence that they're taking summer classes that would meet the requirements, then we will hold off on making a decision. Or even if we were to make a decision and then you were to send us a new transcript that would put you over the top and and allow us to change the decision, we would be happy to do that. So in the case you're talking about, you can either wait until you set up your application otherwise, except from the school that you're taking the summer class at, and wait and send that transcript in once the summer class is available. Or, as I said, we'll be on the lookout for it. You make sure you mark it on your application that you're taking summer classes and that those are going to put you over the top, then we will absolutely wait to get those. Okay, so this is asking about a transfer condition for fall 25. And so I hadn't really discussed this because they usually are well documented and accessible. There is a transfer pathways program And again, the reason I hadn't brought it up before, but I'm happy to talk about it, is that it is offered to a very small set of students, like a few hundred students. And the criteria that they use is a student applied as a first year, was put on the application wait list, and then was not awarded admission off the wait list. So basically, they were denied off the wait list, and they were a resident of the state of Georgia. So if you were put on the wait list last year, if you're a resident of the state of Georgia and you were not offered admission from the wait list, then it is possible that you might be a transfer pathway eligible student. And my best advice would be to email me, and I would be very happy to confirm it for you. Okay. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you for asking so many questions and being so interested. Thank you for considering the UGA. Thank you for considering UGA. Thanks, Heather, Elizabeth, Jason Emond. Go Dogs.
Recording stopped.